Welcome to LovegLew Creations, where we create and design for your inspiration. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's wreath. All right, so today's inspiration comes from a wreath kit that I ordered from a wreath designer, Jenny's Wreath Boutique. So the great thing about this wreath is I followed her tutorial, and the lucky thing is she had a kit to purchase. So this is the wreath. And I love this wreath because it's got this monochromatic design. It's basically a bunch of black colored greenery, faux greenery, and with these touches of gold greenery within. So this was her Halloween wreath, and I thought, you know what? I put this together and I said, you know what? Let me try to make something similar to this using the same scheme that she. Okay, so I wanted to give you all a close-up of what is exactly within this wreath, and it's really, really pretty. She added a lot of texture to the design. So we have these really pretty magnolia black leaves. They look almost leathery. And then we have some magnolia leaf bushes that we added. And then she topped it off and gave it just a little bit of different color with these really pretty gold ferns. And then she used some garland that she cut up, and we added this to kind of make it, give a little whimsical look to the wreath itself. And all this is attached to a 14-inch grapevine wreath. So I think it's very, very pretty, and I love the different textures within the black, and I love the black chromatic look. So I used this to inspire me to make this wreath that we're gonna create today. And guess what? This was all a part of a wreath kit. So I watched a tutorial and created this entire wreath from the wreath kit that she had as part of her creation. Okay, so what I wanted to do was try to duplicate that wreath kit and do one that was monochromatic just like she did, but I was able to find what I was really looking for, so I was able to utilize some pieces that I think would really go really well, and I thought I'd make this one a Christmas wreath. So we're going to start off with a 14-inch grapevine, and all of the ingredients came from Hobby Lobby. And FYI, Hobby Lobby's having 50% off right now, so it's a good time to go and get some of your supplies for Christmas and fall and so forth. So our 14-inch grapevine. I tried to find the magnolia leaves that she was using, and they had green ones. And I didn't want the green ones. I thought, you know, I'm gonna try something different and make them stand out. So I found these really pretty gold sprays. They're on a pick, and we're gonna pull these off and apply them as well. We'll get to that in a minute. Then I thought our base of our roof would be really, really pretty with this pine. And this was a pick as well from the Christmas section in Hobby Lobby. Then where Jenny added the gold ferns, I thought I would add these silver picks as well and give it a little pop as well. So we got the gold and the silver combined along with the Christmas pine. And then where Jenny used the garland to kind of give it that whimsical look, I thought this would be really, really pretty. We'll cut this down and add pieces of it to go around the wreath and give it that whimsical look as well. So these are pretty much our ingredients for our wreath. So let's get started. All right, so first we're gonna start with cleaning the grapevine. We wanna get rid of any of this excess that's going around the outer rim of the wreath itself, and just get those little pieces off. Just kind of clean it up and give it a smoother look as we get ready to prepare to create our wreath. So wherever you see these little pieces sticking out, just go ahead and cut those off. And I'm gonna continue that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now that we've cleaned up some of the ugliness from around the wreath, we'll go ahead and start working on our picks. So one thing that I want to do with the magnolia leaves is just tear them off from the stem itself, because we want some of this excess to push into the grapevine. So we're going to go ahead and just tear these off. It's real simple. And I probably need about 16 of them, because we're going to put them in 2 at a time in each section. So, and I'm gonna tear these off, and we'll be right back. All right, so now that I have them cut or pulled off the stem, I just wanna show you all, I'm just gonna cut and just leave about 1.5 inches of the stem of the magnolia leaf, so when we place it into the wreath form, there's some stem left there for it, so it'll glue in perfectly. So we'll just cut them all down to that, about that length, and move on to the next section. All right, so for the next step, we want to go ahead and cut our pine pick. So what I'm going to do is as you can see, it has a lot of branches on it, right? So we don't need the whole entire pick to go into. We're going to place it into the wreath form in pieces. So you can see where it has different branches within the actual pick itself. So we're going to go ahead and cut those off and separate them, so that gives us more to work with and more to cover the grapevine wreath with. So here's one, and then 2, and 3, and 4. So with this particular pine pick, we can actually get quite a few pieces out of it to use those, and we're going to put those into our grapevine wreath as well. So I'm going to continue to cut those, and we'll be right back. All right, so I used about 6 picks, and each one was able to give me 4 pieces each. So that's going to be enough to hopefully cover the entire grapevine, but if not, we have more. So I always try to buy more just in case. Better to be overly prepared than underprepared. All right, so let's move on to the next set of picks. Okay, so here is my version of the fern, and it's going to be the silver pieces. So I just need 6 of these. So I have more than enough, so I'm gonna cut each one into 3 pieces. So we have enough to make 3 sprays for our silver pieces that are gonna be the replacement of the gold ferns in our Halloween wreath. So let me cut those, and it's so simple, just like that. So the great thing about our picks is that we can always cut them into pieces and get more than what we need. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 ready to go. All right, so got extra just in case, and we could use it for another wreath. Okay, so this is the final piece that we're going to add into our wreath, and this is what's going to be, this is going to replace that garland that we have on the Halloween wreath, and so this is going to be our whimsical look. So I just need a long stem from each one, so when we place it in, it kind of flows out. So I'm going to cut the longest piece, which is the center of each of one of these. So I just need 6 of these as well. So we'll just cut it right here at the base, and we'll have a long piece that'll be sticking out. We probably could use all of these. Let's try them. Again, this is inspiration, you guys. So if it doesn't work, we'll make it work. So we have 1, 2, 3. We want the tallest piece, most likely, but we'll just see how that works. So 4, 5, and 6. And whatever you don't use, save it for another wreath. You can always use these as sprays in a Christmas wreath or a fall wreath, either or, depending on what your creation is and what inspires you. You can use Christmas stuff, Halloween stuff, and vice versa, and so on. So that should do it. All right, let's get ready to create. Okay, so once we've cut up all of our pine picks, I noticed that as I was cutting them, I had big pieces and I also had small pieces. So we're going to apply all the big pieces first, and then if we need to, we'll apply the small pieces as fillers. Keep in mind, we still have other picks to add to this, so don't want it to get too full, but we want it to be full enough so it's still elegant looking. So we're going to go ahead and apply the pick within the center of the perimeter of the actual grapevine. So each pick is going to go in the center. So when you put it in there, because of this particular type of foliage, it's kind of flimsy, so we want to make sure it goes in flat within the grapevine itself, so it lays flat. And then we'll just start with the next one, just kind of almost on top of it, and just stay within the center of the grapevine. And one thing that I do is I don't glue them in until I get them all placed where I want them to be, and then I'll go in and I'll glue each one individually while it's sitting inside the grapevine. So we're just gonna continue to apply our evergreen, our pine within our wreath form. And we'll just follow the circle through the center, and it should create its own shape of the wreath form itself. So here we go. And it can be tricky. And keep in mind, if you see any gaps, that's fine, because we're going to add the small pieces where there's gaps. So just continue to follow the form of the wreath down the center with each pick, and it should form its own, should form itself. Pretty much. As you can see, it's already starting to form that circle that makes it look really, really pretty down the center. Okay, so I've gotten the big pieces placed perfectly spherical around the grapevine. So what I'm going to do is just see if I need to add any small pieces. But in the meantime, what I want to do is go ahead and glue the pieces that I've applied so far. So we'll just go in, and where they are laying within the grapevine, we'll glue them directly in there. And they'll set. We'll be good to go. Again, most people like to glue them, put the glue on, then put it in there in the grapevine, but I want to make sure I get everything positioned where I want it to be. If I need to pull it out and reposition, I have that opportunity to do so. And don't be afraid if you don't think you have enough pieces. I know I thought I was going to run out, which can happen, does happen sometimes. The good thing is that everything's 50% off at Michael's, I'm sorry, at Hobby Lobby, and we can go get more. But we do have the fillers that we're going to apply, because I do see some gaps where I want to have my some of more of my grapevine to be covered up with this beautiful pine that we're using. I think it adds a really nice Christmas look in itself to the grapevine. So that's what we're going for, the Christmas look, and going with our inspiration on the Halloween wreath and just putting a different spin on it. So again, like I said, my theme is, will we design for your inspiration? And I get a lot of inspiration from other designers, and that's how wreath makers do it. All right, so let's look and see if we have to apply any small pieces. So now that we have all the big pieces glued down, now what I want to do is go ahead and fill in the gap where we do have some holes for when we see some grapevine. Now keep in mind, we are adding other pieces, we're adding other types of foliage and sprays and picks and so forth, so it doesn't need to be absolutely covered with this evergreen, but I do want to make sure that it's full enough to where it, you know, picks up all of the evergreen as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply where I see some holes. And feel free, you know, with whatever picks that you're using, you know, do the same. So let's get those in there, and it'll just fall into place perfectly as you create your wreath. Again, like I said, I don't apply the glue yet until I get everything where I want it. So it's just my way of being particular and careful, and if I need to reposition, I can. So this doesn't work for every type of wreath form. Sometimes you do have to go ahead and apply the glue, because you'll forget where. So I think so far what I've applied, I'm going to go ahead and glue, because we're starting to get too many here. And like I said, you will forget. And like I just already did. How about that? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to fill in the gaps, and I'll be right back. How's it look? So far so good. So what I did was I filled in the gaps. I added some of the small pieces around the edges to give it a more fuller look. And for my first one, I think it looks pretty good. But we still have lots more to go. So. Okay, so next we're going to add the gold magnolia leaf. So we're gonna start with the big leaf. So with this particular pick, there was small and there was big. Small, medium, or whatever you wanna call it. All right, so we'll start with the big ones, and we're gonna start on the perimeter, and we're gonna plug them in underneath the evergreen and find a little spot underneath the evergreen, put it in there. And you want the evergreen to overlap on the outside, so of the magnolia leaf. So we'll probably space these, about 5 inches apart. So find a space underneath, plug it in, and make sure it's kind of sticking out like that a little bit. Kind of turn it out just a little bit. Make sure you got it spaced where you want it. If you're good at where you're spacing, go ahead and glue as you put it in. I am not that person, so I glue after I get it all in, just because I might need to reposition. So, but let it lay perfectly inside. Looks really pretty. So far, so good. 5 inches inside, get it in there. Let the evergreen lay on top, because it's gonna show through, because it's gold. It's gonna shimmer through no matter where you put it, so the evergreen can definitely overlap it like that. And keep in mind, we could have used any other color. We could have used the green magnolia leaves. I just wanted to give it that Christmas look. So that's what I was going for, but feel free to definitely be inspired with whatever you feel like you want your wreath to look like. There we go. So look, I think that looks pretty. So far, so good. Almost looks like a Julius Caesar wreath, but that's okay. You know what? It's gonna be pretty for Christmas, and I think that's perfect. I was gonna add the smaller leaves, the smaller magnolias on the inside, but I don't know. What do y'all think? You think we need it? Okay, so originally I thought we would use these nice white crystal picks, right, to be on the outside, to be whimsical, but the more I think about it, I really want to kind of calm down the gold that's going on in this. So I think it would be really great if we added these whimsical pieces inside the wreath on top of the gold. So we have the big pieces, and then we'll have the smaller pieces to like be a placement on top of each gold magnolia leaf. How pretty is that? So let's keep doing that. So we're gonna alternate. We're gonna have 2 on each side. So the big piece and the small piece. When I say big piece, when I cut the these crystal white pieces, picks, there was an opportunity to have a bigger piece. So we're gonna do that around each one. So we're gonna add a big piece. I'm gonna make sure we get inside the wreath form itself. I'm not sure if y'all can see that. Just stuff it in there as close as you can, and then add a smaller piece on the inside of the wreath form. And then we're just going to go around the entire wreath form, and we're going to put it on top of each gold magnolia leaf. And then for me, I keep saying this, I am the person that doesn't glue until I get them in there, and then I glue all the pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and place them all in, and I'm gonna glue them all in, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now that we got all of our crystal white picks in, how does that look? I think it looks beautiful. We've added all of the crystal whites, 2 on top of each gold leaf. How pretty is that? So I'm thinking we should go ahead and add this piece just to give it 1 extra piece of texture. So, and we're gonna add it in between the crystal picks and the gold magnolia leaf, and we'll add it just like that in between. And it'll give it that festive, and just another touch to the festive holiday look. What do y'all think? So if we add it right in the center of our gold leaf, and it should fall right into place with everything else. So make sure it's centered on your gold leaf, and it'll fall symmetrically where it needs to fall. So far so good, it's looking beautiful. I love it. What do you think, everyone? So again, what I thought I was going to create turned out totally different once I started creating. Thus, it's all about inspiration. Thus, it's all about what you see as you start designing. So it may not be exactly what you thought it was going to be when you start off with. And it can change at any time. It can change form, it can change direction, it can change with the pattern and everything. So I think these silver pieces add the right touch of texture and quality to this wreath. What do you guys think? So I'm going to continue to add. I'm going to glue them in, and we'll be right back. All right, everyone, here is our final creation. How pretty does that turn out? I know I made some adjustments and I made some changes, but that's part of being a creator and a crafter and a designer. So look how beautiful that is. So let's put it up here. And based off of our inspirational wreath into our creation, I think it turned out really pretty. We have Halloween and we have Christmas. So like and subscribe, and thanks for wreathing with me.